What are some sim strategies or routines that you have used in your classes?
Let's see, there's unit organizers, course organizers, links, frames.
Which do you find the most useful for you and for your learning? Which routine?
I'll probably say links.
What do you find useful about links?
Cause like it's easier to remember the words when you like do reminding words and draw pictures and like make up stories and draw pictures. It's easier to remember. Like on tests, like I saw the word and I was like, oh yeah, my reminding word is this, and then I wrote that story and like, oh, it's easy. Oh yeah, that's that.
What are some sim strategies or routines that you have used in your classes?
The frame, mostly the frame, because most of the teachers use essays, and when they use an essay, they like to break it down for you so you don't have a hard time writing what you need out, and it's already basically there for you. And out of all of them, I think that's the easiest because you can basically look at it and see parts of like the story or the class that you've been doing, and you can easily just write it down or take notes off of it. It's very simple.
Planning is the absolute bedrock of any instructional endeavor. And so before you dive in and create a unit organizer, or better results are going to come from better planning. Now, I want to take you through the Smarter Planning tool. I love this tool. I love this. I use it all the time. I use it for planning workshops and trainings. I use it for planning staff development. I have used it for planning difficult meetings. And we're going to try
independently and give you feedback. So it really is powerful. Have you done this yet this year? It is like really powerful to sit down and say, okay, talk to me about what you were thinking. Talk to me about this detail here. How is that supporting this main idea?
Okay.
And just having them talk. I mean, it's this like metacognitive process. Well,
okay.
What were you thinking?
Okay.
And you might get some.
I like that.
I don't know. The period was ending. But it's gonna come out, right?
Right. Okay.
And I guarantee you that you're gonna see some change after having that conversation. But it doesn't even have to be that long either, So you probably could meet with each one of these guys.
The power in this conversation isn't me giving them the answer. The power in this conversation is asking them how they arrived at their answer.
That's right.
And talking that through.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you can.
Okay, so our question is, how do we know the students are learning the content-based objective before school? So how will we define learning?
To gain information.
To gain information? Or skill. Or to gain information or skill, Jenny?
And to be able to apply it in a new situation.
To be able to apply it to a new situation. Tom?
Understanding better.
Understanding better.
The answer to the question. I want you to think about it for a second. Focus on what you think the main idea is. And then I want you to turn to the person next to you and explain to him or her what that main idea is. So do it now. That's a pretty good question.
And virtue doesn't really have a meaning. It's like since history is written by the winners, whoever writes history is going to be regarded as virtuous. They're the ones that really make the difference, who define what virtue is.
That's why I'm going to write why.
What we're doing is we are looking at a concept. The concept starts with a P. You know what it's called?
Polynomial.
Polynomial. Very good. We're going to use this piece of paper. This device is called a concept mastery device. We're going to master the idea of what a polynomial is. We're going to do that by looking at some examples. Right? Your job is to help me fill this in right now. So what are some of those key vocabulary words that you heard from Ray Pop, or that you remember that we've been talking about with polynomials? What are some words right there? parentheses. Yep.
Cold War traditional back, right? Cold War ideology.
And talk about what's the difference and what's the importance of doing both, and why do you have to have both in order to situation? How do you have to have one to the other? You build
Nice.
Why do we
How do you
want
have to
to
have
do
one?
that? I don't know if our focus is too broad to make a comparison between two concepts, but our focus might be too broad to use this.
Well, I think us versus them is
Too big.
well. Us is not a concept.
Right,
That's true.
right, exactly.
So
what
we need
is
to go
the
back to
concept?
this one, capitalist democracy and communism.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And so, go ahead. You know what I would say to you guys is go ahead and do it. All right? Go ahead and do it. Do the likes, do the unlikes, do the categories, and just see how it feels. Because you got into it and then you start.
It has the kind of the steps we're going to go through. So communicate targeted concepts. I just said, what two things are we going to compare? It's a hint in the DLO. Yes, Xavier?
Similarities and differences.
Yeah. I'm going to look at a power function. And I'm going to look at a root function.
Okay, so looking at our warm-up today, which is this movie that we're watching, this documentary, More Than a Game, how is watching this movie for us in this class a form of generalization? You can tell me a way that watching this movie is like that. We're not reading something this time, so how is this movie similar? Matt?
It's like summarizing on what happened in the past and they're referring it when they're adults now.
Okay, so summarizing what happened in the past, so that's pulling in that summarization strategy that we've used. Good. Think about right. So Johnny, where are your answers about More Than a Game? Where do those answers have to come from? Right. You guys are going to have to be able to cite something from the movie, and there's your evidence. So a film can be a text. It can be a form of a text.
About those.
Right.
The next part, I don't know whether I just kind of do more of a lecture portion
Yeah,
or.
well, we can talk about like the areas of co-construction and things too when we deal with it. If this is going to be all new information, it may be that you fill in more of this piece, but then you ask questions around the piece you fill in. Like if you're like, give me an example of what would be an essential detail that would go under realistic features as far as the process of doing it. What's the first thing they have to do?
Lengths and proportions. So proportion would be.
And then you could do some of the review questions like, what did I say about what your head and the body? And then you can elicit there. So you maybe write proportions, but then ask them a series of questions to review so they really understand what.
And we're doing a big kind of frame on it. It's different. We did a unit organizer on chapter 6. We're going to do a frame on this one. Okay, we're going to do some comparisons. What's the other one do from left to right? False. Very good. Okay. And if you guys have done your reading, right, we're going to look at this in a minute. But so let's update this side. It will say exactly the same thing except for the word false. A growth function that now incorporates a shift. Do H and K stand for the same thing that they have in all of our other functions as far as shifting?
Yes.
Yes.